Hello, 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 lovely people. Welcome to Full Circle Season 2. I'm Pallavi Dhodi.
And I am George Koudanaris, and we are ridiculously excited to have you with us as we kick off 2 days of real talk, zero fluff, fully practical sessions designed for people who make B2B marketing actually work. And that's the small teams, the one-person teams, and all of you powering marketing in the age of AI slop.
Yep, Season 2 is here. And if the last 12 months have taught us anything, it is this that AI made it very, very easy to hit publish, but very, very hard to stand out. We're practically living in the golden age of content inflation right now, right? And where everybody is shipping super fast, being extremely loud, but somehow sounding exactly the same, right? So this year, we're going straight to cut to that and getting to the heart of the problem with our theme of brand marketing in the age of AI slop. How do small teams like the ones you're on, right? How do these teams build something that's memorable? Something that actually goes above and beyond, something that actually stays with your buyer, right? Especially in a time like today when the internet is absolutely drowning in AI driven. So, on that note, while we're getting everybody tuned in, signed in, and comfortable, let's get the chat fired up. Why don't you all drop in the chat where you're joining us from, and also drop the emoji that best represents the vibe of your marketing inbox right now? I'm going to drop mine. Mine looks something like this. Okay, that's it. The chat is going to let me drop anything in it.
Oh, I've just thrown mine in there, and that's the horror show, Pallavi. Fortunately, fortunately, my very organized business partner Kevin Chen also looks at my inbox and files everything for me. But it's terrible. Oh, we've got people coming in from Bangalore. Wow, look at all this. London.
Amazing. There's somebody coming in from Florida. Oh, lots of folks from London. That's really nice. Toronto, NYC, Glasgow, Germany. Fantastic. More
Wow.
folks from India, Chennai, Bordeaux in France. Hello. Hopefully, is it too early in the morning for a nice glass of wine? Would swap my for one of those.
No Australians yet. Pretty
No,
disappointed that no one stayed up till 1:30 in the morning for this.
George. That's only you, George. That's only you.
Well, look, a great array of people attending, great emojis. Love it. Thank you for sending them in. Amazing to have so many people join us from all over the world. Pallavi, in case people didn't join us in our first season of Full Circle, should we just do some quick intros as to who you and I are?
Absolutely. So, everybody, for those of you who have missed all of my shameless plugs on LinkedIn and the mad advertising and marketing that we've tried to do in the last couple of weeks, I am the founder of Draft. Draft helps B2B brands tell interesting stories, build their voice, build content engines, and we essentially help you stand out with unmissable content.
And I'm one half of the B2B Playbook. We're a learning resource for marketers where my friend and I, Kevin Chen, we share our frameworks for B2B marketing, the 5Bs framework. And we also get to chat with some brilliant marketing and sales minds every month. We also run an agency to help B2B brands reach more customers with paid media. And of course, the B2B Incubator, our demand generation program that's helped hundreds of marketing teams become revenue drivers for their business. And links to learn more about both Pallavi and I are in the chat.
Yep, absolutely. Coming right up. Okay. And on that note, I am going to get this show on the road for us, and walk us very quickly through some housekeeping rules as well as things that you should know while you're with us, for the opening day of Full Circle. Let me very quickly just bring that right up. Okay, so we've got 4 sessions lined up for you folks today. The first track is brand is not equal to fluff, where we're going to be talking about how you can actually use brand as a growth lever and not just a pretty logo or a color or a rebrand. Let's take a look at the 2 speakers who are going to be with us. We're going to be starting off the day with Klaas, who's going to be talking to us about branding AI products when everything is AI powered. Followed by Matt Maynard, who is going to be talking to us about making the case for brand in a performance obsessed world. For track 2, we're going to be focusing on how do you actually create some of this unmissable anti-slop content, right? And we've got 2 folks who you definitely want to listen to because they've nailed it down to a pat. The first one is Jess Cook, who's going to be talking to us about content IP, building a marketing engine that competitors can't copy. And then you've got Luke Winter, who's going to be talking to us about using humor and the serious business of being funny. That's what we've got lined up for you all the way up to 12:30 p.m. EST. So stay tuned. Just so you folks know, you do not need to close your browsers. This is not Zoom back in the early 2000s. You don't have to go hunting for any session links in your inboxes. You can keep this browser open through the day. Even if you're busy with something else, you can always come back when you've got time. And the sessions will be playing in this window through the day. Okay, housekeeping rules. There is a chat button, which all of you have just used to drop your lovely emojis. Please use it very, very generously throughout the sessions. There is a Q&A tab as well, but just ignore that. The chat is really where it's at. So I want you to go ahead and use it as much as you can. Ask your questions, interact with one another, talk to one another, share your existential crises as marketing teams. Go for it. Okay. The second bit is there is a small resources section, which you'll see right at the bottom right of your screen. This is where you'll find additional resources for quite a few of the sessions that we've got for you today, including the first one that's coming up. You can click on these resources in your own time, as and when you're in between sessions as well. Even during the break, they'll be available. All of today's sessions will be available in the event reception at the end of the day as replays. So if you've missed something, or if you want to go back and show a colleague something super amazing that you read or saw or heard in one of the sessions today, you can tune back into the event reception and those replays will be available. We will also be sending you folks recordings by Thursday. All right. Okay, that's it from me on the housekeeping stuff.
Beautiful. Did you want to go and get our first speaker from the back of stage, Pallavi?
Yes,
I can.
I will do that.
Before we jump into the first session, I suppose we need to show people something that might hit a little close to home. In the era of AI slop, targeting has gotten so chaotic that marketers are out here doing just whatever it takes, really, including this. And we've got this little video that we're going to play from our brilliant sponsor, Vector.
Oh, hey! What the? Don't mind me. I'm just testing some new placement.
In my bath?
You'd be amazed how many people with your same buyer persona spend in the bathtub.
This is the best way to guarantee your exact buyers end up in your ad audience.
This really isn't the best time.
That's what they all say. But this is a high engagement environment. Warm water, warm leads.
The next best way is Vector.
What is going on here?
No. This isn't what it looks like.
I was just trying to get him turned on to our platform.
Vector builds ad audiences from people who visit your site, click your ads, and research your competitors. No wasted spend, no guesswork, and no surprising them in the bathtub.
So, that's a yes?
All right. And if you have ever felt even 1% as unhinged as what you just saw, we That's exactly why we're super excited to have Vector with us this year, sponsoring all of our collective sanity. Because instead of stalking prospects across the internet or, showing up in their bathtubs, like our friend in the video, Vector actually lets you build ad audiences from real people doing real things that signal real intent. Go check out Vector. We're dropping a link in the chat. We'd have asked you to do this any which way, even if they weren't paying us to do this. So let me just very quickly drop that link in the chat for you. Okay, and while you're all still reeling from that video, we are very, very excited to have our first speaker for the opening session at Full Circle. And I would very, very, very much like to introduce all of you to Klaas. Kira is the VP Corporate Marketing at Later. She has also been the former global head of brand at Notion and has built and scaled brand functions at high growth companies, including Brex and Gusto. Basically, Kira has all the receipts you all need to be talking about something which is painfully relevant to every marketer alive right now, branding AI products when everything is AI powered. Kira today will be walking us through how to differentiate your AI messaging, when AI deserves a spotlight and when it absolutely doesn't, and how to push back on that pressure of just use AI in the story. Kira, thank you so very much for being with us here today. And now over to you.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here. Hopefully you can all hear me okay, see me okay. We're going to get right to the presentation. But yeah, just want to say thank you to the Full Circle organizers for having me, especially up first. So let's dig in. Let's talk about branding in the world of AI powered. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. So I wanted to talk about this topic because it's been something I've been thinking about for quite a while. Obviously, AI has entered the tech space kind of in a mainstream way in the last 4 years or so. I wrote about this topic for the first time on my newsletter. So in addition to my day job, I moonlight as a newsletter author on Substack. I just love talking about this so much that I want to spend my free time on it. But I wrote about this in October of 2024. I wrote an article called "We Need to Talk About AI Branding." And a lot of the same principles from that time I think have upheld over the past year. But what I did for this presentation was revisited that topic to see how the landscape has changed over that year. I've left in some of the examples. We have a lot of examples for you, actual screenshots of B2B messaging and websites throughout this presentation. I left a few in so that we can see how messaging has evolved over the year, where it's made progress and where maybe we still have some strides to break out of all the noise. So I'm really excited to get into that, but I'll do a little preamble before we go right into the examples. And by the way, if you want to check out my newsletter, I'm going to drop the link there, and we can add a link again at the end. But bookmark that for later. This is the exact type of thing that I write about with a lot of examples, right? Like how is B2B entering this space, and how should marketers think about ways to stand out? So what I'm going to talk about here, is over the past 3-4 now years, companies in all industries, right, have really rushed to integrate AI into their products and services, or at least to change all their messaging to say how they have. The branding space in AI, I think, is really simultaneously experiencing a moment of opportunity, but also saturation. And terms like AI powered, AI copilot, all-in-one AI solution have become very ubiquitous and definitely overused. And so we're going to talk about to AI or not to AI, and go into some examples. Like 3 of my former employers, Brex, Notion, and Gusto, have significantly adopted AI as part of their product value prop, but only 2 of them have changed their marketing accordingly. And so why? I want to talk about why is AI such a central part of some tech company marketing and barely mentioned in others? And what role should it play in your branding when you're inevitably going to get executive pressure to talk about it? And there's one more resource if you want to go ahead, Poppy, to the next slide, to the can we, to should we. This is the question on all of our minds, not just in how we market AI, but as we're developing these products. And in branding roles, many of us do have the opportunity to influence teams building these products, how they get built, which features get turned into AI powered or not, where we use agents in our work versus real people, because we are representing, integrity of the brand and how the brand relates to our audience. So this is the question, right? Of like, there's a lot of things we can do. I think the question for our marketers and for branding people in the room, we are the ones bringing discernment and taste and helping decide, should we? As an article that was published in the Harvard Business Review last year titled How AI Affects Our Sense of Self. I really think that should be a required reading for any marketer. We can dig up the link for you as well. But towards the end of the article, they're talking about the psychology behind how AI affects purchasing decisions. The authors really talk about how AI, the way we talk about what its functionality can do, replacing human skill, there's a lot of potential implication in terms of how people feel about themselves. And marketers, right, we're in the business of helping influence how people feel about us, about our brand, about our products. And so we'll be revisiting this question throughout, can we, should we? Going to the next slide. As a brand leader and marketing advisor myself, I'm asking these questions all the time. If we mention AI, if we use AI in these ways, how can our AI branding help us differentiate and help us build trust? Because up till now, marketing AI features and functionality have mostly been about capturing attention. And now that it feels like nothing new, even though we are still so early in the AI space and level of innovation that is yet to come, it feels like nothing new. It feels like the noise is everywhere. There's slop everywhere. It's time that we focus on how we can use this to build trust instead. Let's set a little context. Let's go to the next slide. Let's set a little bit of context about how is our market feeling about AI right now. So we know this. I mean, this is like well-known fact by now, even though AI has come a long ways. It has been meaningful from the start. It makes mistakes. It tells us to put glue on pizza, eat rocks. You've all probably fallen prey to the Google summaries up at the top where it's like, what is this information that you're telling me? It puts the onus on us as the consumer and the individual to determine, is this the right information? Is this true? Is this believable? Who's behind this information being so prominent? What's their motivation? And of course, the reason for that is that AI is still vastly ungoverned, vastly unmonitored, and unregulated. So that means all of our users, the people that we're trying to reach and talk to, they are primed to come into hearing about your product, your brand, whatever. They're primed to be skeptical, maybe bored because of everything they're hearing. Maybe they're angry. I think a lot of people are still really wrapping their heads around what this means. And so taking that context into account, we have a lot of emotions. Going ahead to the next slide. This means we're starting from a place of low trust. And when the trust is already low, there are higher stakes for us to, create messaging, make creative and design ads that aren't going to sort of immediately trigger people or get them off to the wrong foot. So let's go ahead to the next slide. How and if to brand your AI. Let's talk about the principles that I've developed over the past year or so, and of course, a lot of the examples. I think my overall argument is that AI branding really needs to go beyond advertising the presence of artificial intelligence, and instead it needs to emphasize utility and user value. What does it actually do for you? And that is how you can talk about then the complementary relationship between AI and human capabilities, which aren't going anywhere. How it makes your customer look good, not feel replaceable. A lot of this will build on the same principles of how we develop taste at work, which is another topic I've written a lot about. I argue that taste is not, in this context, is not just something that some people have and others don't, but a skill that you can develop, and it really comes back to developing empathy for your audience, being a good host for your audience, anticipating people's needs before they come up. And so the way we decide how or when to brand AI has a lot to do with taste. Are you aware of the context your customer is seeing your AI message in? Are you aware of the feelings and emotions and previous experiences that they're bringing to this experience? Are you empathizing with the way that they want to feel or the way they want to see themselves? Or is your marketing actually ignoring all that and just focusing on how great you are? So going ahead to the next slide, this is the kind of the three-part framework you can keep in mind that you can argue back with execs, say, hey, let's be thinking about these things before we slap AI powered on another landing page. So we'll talk about each one of these. First, deciding when and where to call it out. Second, using AI to make your customer look good. And third, focusing on utility over technology. Let's go into the first one, and we're going to start to get into the examples here. Let me go ahead. Oh, yeah, perfect slide. Okay, deciding when and where to call it out. Most SaaS platforms and tech companies and B2B platforms at this point have used AI to automate some or many of their workflows. And so as the tech is integrating into more aspects of business and daily life, I think mentioning it in your marketing is becoming about as redundant as saying your product is online or tech enabled, right? Being AI powered is no longer the differentiator that it might have been a year and a half ago, but we're still seeing this all over landing pages and websites and things. So if it's so ubiquitous, do you need to call it out? Let's start by setting the ground rule that at least until AI matures and becomes better governed, which could be a very long time, you should be transparent. But that doesn't mean you have to lead with saying this is AI powered, right? So the things to ask yourself and your marketing and product teams, anyone you're working with who's delivering this experience to your audience, will not referencing the AI-driven aspects of the product be dishonest or misrepresent the experience in some way, right? If you are implying that when you're speaking to an AI agent, that's a real person, that's not truthful, for example. Second, does the user actually interact with AI in product versus the AI functionality being used behind the scenes processes? All manner of things. Calculating data, summarizing, suggesting new products and links. Where is the AI functionality actually showing up in the user experience? And third, very important, can the AI make mistakes that could negatively impact customers? Do they need to know that it can mess up? A lot of B2B companies, right? I'm thinking about like one of my previous employers, Gusto, manages payroll taxes for small businesses. That's extremely high stakes. So people need to be aware if there's something else at play that could be impacting their experience. So now we're going to go into some examples, and I'm going to call out where I've left in some older examples, screenshots, copy, because again, I think it's really interesting to see how this space has changed over the past year. Again, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse or neutral. But let's take Miro, for example. So this is an older example from a little over a year ago. And you've probably seen language like this before. AI-powered visual workspace. Nothing in this top-level messaging gets at why your workspace being AI-powered matters to me. What is different about it now that it's AI-powered? I literally have no idea. Let's go ahead and see the next example. Welcome to the innovation workspace. It's just another way of saying the same thing. So my issue with this is, again, there's nothing about this messaging explaining the utility behind either an AI-powered workspace or an innovation workspace. I have no idea what that is. And so the next screenshot is an example from their website within the last couple of days. Go from brainstorm to breakthrough with Miro, where teams and AI ideate, plan, and build the right things faster. So I like this a lot more. At least you're starting with a value prop right off the bat, this concept of getting from brainstorm to breakthrough. So I'm really glad to see that there's been some evolution here. Teams and AI working together is now no longer a new concept, but I also wonder if that language is going to feel tired in another couple of months. So we've got our little thinking emoji here. Let's keep an eye on this one, right? Going ahead to the next example with Gusto. So I worked at Gusto almost 10 years ago now, gosh, but their brand has really been the same. It's leaned on the same principles for a long time. They, in my opinion, are a brand who does a really good job empathizing with their audience of small business owners who need things like payroll, HR, and benefits to just work. And by looking at their website, you would have no idea that Gusto is leveraging AI in its backend. There's a blog post I dug up that talks about how they're using AI to help solve customer problems, but you wouldn't know that at all just by looking at their homepage. Why is that? Because being AI powered is not what's important to the small businesses who rely on them to administer their payroll and pay taxes. What matters to them is that those things don't get messed up, that they don't get in legal trouble, and that they don't pay more than they have to. So the product just needs to work super well and keep delighting customers throughout their user experience, and it does. So at Gusto, right, AI in the back end is obviously the case at the majority of tech companies now, and AI tools are best in market solution for certain cases, but any company building in those spaces will soon migrate or have AI even more built into their workflows, I'm sure. But the urge to aggressively market the concept of AI being somewhere in the product without clear context, that's the trend that we are trying to escape. So let's now look at Brex, another one of my previous employers. I've left in a couple of old examples here as well. So the first 3 slides here, I think 3 or 4 slides are going to be from about a year ago. And you can see the AI-powered spend platforms. It doesn't get any more on the nose than that. For a long time, Brex was positioning themselves as the financial operating system for businesses. The spend platform is language they've leaned into for a while, but of course they had to put AI powered in front of it. And going ahead to what you see now on the homepage, actually, and then I'll go into some previous examples. If you go ahead 1 slide. Finance built for speed and control. So this is their current homepage. I don't see AI mentioned anywhere except for this very top banner, explore AI agents and more upgrades now. So you can see how they've moved away from leading with AI, although it's not hard to find. If we go ahead, this is their old AI landing page. Going ahead again, automating workflow for every type of spend. What I liked in this this is again from a year ago or so, what I liked in this example is that they're immediately explaining not just AI is present in these workflows. Okay, great. It's explaining the value props of that being the case. So trust and transparency. They're explaining, how they are transparent in how AI works to automate workflows. Stay in control. That's probably another number 1 concern that people have about AI being present in the product. Am I going to be in control, or is some other, unknown entity doing this for me? Is a robot doing it for me? And privacy, of course, is the top of mind for everyone. How are you using my data? What are you feeding this to some AI to train on? So they are explaining and addressing some of those concerns right off the bat for their audience. And now clicking ahead, this is what their landing page for Brex AI looks like now. So really, we've entered another new era of agentic. Everything's now agentic, talking about AI agents. And I think Brex, this is where I would put a thinking emoji. Is this one making strides in the right direction? Is it a little bit too on the nose talking about AI? Still, are we going to feel like everything AI agents is the new AI powered? But again, I think if you scroll down later on this page, if you go to the next slide here, they are focusing on explaining how these work. So again, focusing on utility over just the technology. So being very clear about what does the presence of AI actually do for you. They're calling out based on your policies and with total transparency. So they have at least focused on what do we think is the most important objection or concern that our audience would have? How can we make that part of the top level messaging for this product? So going ahead back to this rule, deciding when and where to call out. We've all seen this like sparkle shorthand everywhere. I'm arguing that this has become a little bit ubiquitous, maybe a little overused, but I think it's still a good shorthand to represent like AI functionality is present here. but it's not something we need to dramatically label and, sort of shove down your throat. Like the Spotify user interface here, the little sparkle shuffle emoji has just like a tiny sparkle added to the shuffle icon, not emoji, excuse me. There is a way to call out the AI is present without making it like the banner messaging of your homepage. So going ahead, other things I'd be watching out for in this rule is like, don't sound like, how do you do, fellow kids, right? See you on the internet. Send me an email. AI is definitely going the way of, what I was saying before, online, tech-enabled, in the cloud. It's starting to become really, really embedded in everything that we do. So, digital, smart, if you're using rocket ship emojis in your LinkedIn post, like, that makes it look like you're using ChatGPT. So be aware of, the language and even like semantics, like are you using a dot, I dot, or lowercase, uppercase? These all have implications for how your audience feels about the AI products that you are touting, and we need to be mindful of how we're showing up here so that we're finding the balance between, how do you do, fellow kids, and being a little bit too on the nose with it. So let's go into the next piece of the framework here, using AI to make your customer look good. I alluded to this HBR article just earlier in the presentation. Many people's sense of self is rooted in their professional identity, and AI and automation can be perceived as undermining that identity if they threaten to devalue skills, expertise, or status. When I read that, it's like, duh, but we still see so many examples of, especially in the SDR space, right? Like replacing customer support agents or salespeople with AI agents. That makes people, feel a certain way. And this HBR article is helping to argue that the way we talk about AI functionality is very tied up in people's identity and sense of self. And if you want to build a relationship with an audience to where they trust you, they listen to you, not even that, but just getting their attention, first of all, you need to focus on how you can make your customer look good. And that means, looking good at work, looking good to their boss, to their peers. Maybe it's looking good at home. Maybe it's feeling good to themselves. You guys probably remember, going ahead to this next example, you probably remember this Google ad from last year, Dear Sydney. It was a dad, working with his tween, maybe younger daughter, to write a fan letter to Sydney, an Olympic athlete. And there's a lot of backlash to this because it's like, why are you using AI to like write a letter, something that a dad and child would do together, like writing a piece of fan mail. It's one thing to have ChatGPT writing your workout regimens, but having it write a letter when that could just be a really nice moment between parent and child feels like an overstep. And how does that make people feel about themselves? Maybe it makes them feel like a lazy parent, a disengaged parent. So, thinking about how does this technology and the way I'm projecting using it, how does it make people feel about how they're showing up? This is a bit of an overreach that illustrates something really important. As AI is expanding from handling routine tasks to more nuanced, emotionally charged domains like this, it risks not just devaluing professional skills, but also intruding upon the very deeply personal aspects of human identity. And so the challenge for companies marketing AI is twofold. How do we navigate the potential threats to professional identity while also respecting the boundaries of personal relationships that are fundamental to our sense of self? Go ahead, a slide, dug up this oldie but goodie. I can't believe this is already from 2023. Can I get some AI to pick plastic out of the ocean, or do all the robots need to be screenwriters? I think people still really feel this way. AI use cases are no doubt going to get very personal. Maybe you saw the Friend AI hardware ads in New York City that were defaced and graffitied on. People were like, no, AI is not my friend. AI use cases are getting more and more personal, but when we're marketing what AI can do, the stronger position is is usually to showcase AI as a complementary tool that enhances and augments human capabilities rather than replacing them. I mean, it doesn't take a Gallup poll for us to intuit that this is something Gallup actually reported. 3 out of 4 Americans believe that AI will reduce jobs. And we need to be cognizant of the fears and things that people are bringing to this space. You need to be self-aware as leaders in companies that are playing a role in this cultural theme. So let's summarize that one. Going ahead to the next slide. See it there. Using AI to make your customers look good. Focus on how your product makes your customer look good at work, in front of peers, to their boss, with their friends. Tell them how they're going to be better at their jobs, how they're going to be more confident, how they're going to be a better leader, a friend, a boss, a parent. And there's a reason that Glossier's tagline is still "You look good." People's sense of self is so deeply rooted in the products and tools that they use, and that does not end just because we're marketing B2B products. Just want to make sure, are folks still seeing the screen, the slides? Yeah, let's see. Let's take a moment to get those back. I actually don't see our hosts online anymore, so maybe they had an issue. Oh, here we go. We are back, I believe. Everyone good? Someone throw a yes in the chat. Okay. Sweet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry
All
about
good.
that.
Let's keep going. Yeah, all good. So we're talking about, how do you make people look good? If you want branding that engages audiences positively rather than turns them off, which is a very real risk right now, first, decide if it's relevant to highlight AI at all. And second, highlight how AI complements human skills and creates new opportunities rather than replacing meaningful human interactions. So I've got a bunch more examples to get to, and we even have a third piece of the framework to talk to. So organizers, please give me a time check if I need to speed up a bit. But let's talk about Notion, where I also worked for a time leading brand. I think it's really interesting to see how Notion's approach has changed over the years, because February 2022, I want to say, is when they launched Notion AI as a product. And very quickly, if you look at their homepage now, I'll show that in a moment, that is the star of the show. But it's interesting to see how that message has evolved. I think Notion is an example of a company that's been very mindful of these perceptions people are bringing to the space. So this is an older screenshot now, or an older part of their site, but I really liked the way they said, write, plan, organize, that's the value prop, with a little help from AI. So, the AI mention is there, but it's positioned in a way that AI is helping you. You are the star of the show, and AI is almost like a sidekick, right? Instead of AI powered everything, write, plan, organize with AI. It doesn't need to be the hero. Going ahead to the next example, this was going into another part of the site, either the homepage or maybe a product page. Just ask Notion AI. So if they were to use language like the AI powered productivity workspace, that would be pretty meaningless to Notion's audience, or any audience. But language like just ask Notion AI, it immediately gives the user a sense of how they're going to interact with the AI asking, with the AI element of the product, when, why. It contextualizes it a little bit more for you. Let's go ahead. A little bit of a spicy take here in my view. So this is a newer screenshot, actually. This is recent. The AI workspace that works for you. All-in-one AI that takes notes, searches apps, builds workflows right where you work. I take issue with this. So I was disappointed to see that this is actually how their message evolved from last year. I think language like the AI workspace still means nothing to most people. I get that they're trying to emphasize how AI is a really, big part of how you use and interact with a workspace, but I don't see that explained here. This is another topic, and you can go onto my newsletter and see exactly how I feel about the phrase all-in-one. Basically, I think it should die. I think it's way overused, and I think it's meaningless to most audiences. And it's rarely true. All-in-one, it doesn't wash your dishes for you, right? It's not doing your laundry. It's not all-in-one, and yet when we say that here, we're over promising and then under delivering. So I'm really curious to keep an eye on how Notion is going to evolve. I won't end on that negative note, though. If you go one more slide ahead, if you scroll down on this page, I actually really like how they're later describing the Notion agent, what it does for you. Your Notion agent can build, edit, take action, but I still want to see how this is done in partnership with you, the user. The value prop is clear. Notion AI gets work across the finish line. Most tools stop at ideas. They're talking about, ChatGPT and Claude, where you're just like endlessly brainstorming new campaign ideas and copy and blah, blah, blah. And I like that it's talking about the finish line, but I think that's the primary value prop, and that's what they need to be emphasizing in this messaging. So let's go to the last part of the framework here. How do we focus on utility over technology? So my advice, be specific about who you are for, who should be using your product. Don't be afraid to be really specific here, how your product benefits them. And let's just say, like, it's not like AI branding has different rules from good branding in general. Branding, any time, any place, you need to be clear about who you're for and how your product is benefiting them. So what are the specific problems that your AI-backed functionality solves that they couldn't solve if it wasn't AI-backed? What does the AI-powered part actually do? Why is being AI-powered an advantage? I think that is the part I would bold. Why is this some advantage versus just being there? And again, how does it make your customer look good? So going ahead to some more examples, let's look at Grammarly. Grammarly was founded in 2009. So it's definitely been AI powered for more than the past like 2 or 3 or 4 years. But at one point in recent history, Grammarly pivoted a ton of its branding to capitalize on the AI wave. It marketed itself more outright as an AI writing assistant. And now the emphasis is back on what actually matters, how it helps users communicate more effectively, more confidently. Responsible AI that ensures your writing and reputations shine is a really solid headline that addresses writers' concerns. Like, do I sound like me? Am I using AI ethically? So words like reputation and responsible, those are good ideas to align your brand with. And that's clearly based in some of the concerns that people have using this product. This is an old screenshot. So let's also look at how this has evolved. Going to the next slide. This is the new homepage. You think big, we'll take care of the details. So even less emphasis on AI here. And positioning themselves as a partner to you. You think big, you have the big ideas. You are the one coming up with things, not like, Claude or ChatGPT, where some of the perception there is like they are doing the thinking for you. Work with an AI partner that helps turn your thoughts into writing that's clear, credible, and possible to ignore. Again, hitting the value props that writers care about, being clear, being credible, standing out through all the noise. Later down on their homepage, keep going here, this is responsible AI. The fact that this has a space on their homepage, I think is pretty, it says something about how they're positioning to the audience and the research I'm sure they've done. So thinking about that, is it appropriate to maybe even call out specifically how your AI is ethical or responsible or transparent? Maybe that does need a dedicated space if, again, your AI is part of the main functionality. Go through another quick example. Instacart, these are some screenshots, just like when you're browsing the site, looking through different sites. These search results are clearly, you can type anything here, but they have some suggestions. These are clearly powered by AI, but that fact doesn't matter literally at all to the customer browsing Instacart for ingredients or for recipe ideas. I think this is a perfect example of focusing on utility rather than technology. And so I'm going to recap and quickly rapid fire run through the rest of my examples here. So we are recapping how and if to brand your AI. The if is the important part. Deciding when and where to call it out. That's not everywhere and every time per se. Being judicious about when it makes sense to do so. Using AI to make your customer look good, that starts with having empathy for your audience and understanding what are the things that are motivating them? How do they want to show up or be perceived by their peers, their family, their boss, etc.? And how can you play a role in helping them achieve that desire? And lastly, focusing on utility over technology, right? It's like, talk about the benefit, don't talk about the feature. This is not a new concept, but we need a reminder of that, I think, when the pressure to show off every single, AI piece of functionality and prove that we're just as AI powered as the next guy customers don't actually care about that. Investors and stakeholders care more. So you need to find the balance between where are the moments where we need to prove that, yes, we're keeping ahead of the pack, and it's fine to talk all about that in your pitch deck and your board presentation, but that doesn't necessarily make sense right on your homepage. So the rest of the presentation is examples. So let's fly through here. Talking about Gong, this is an old landing page, the AI platform that transforms your revenue growth. I left this in here because I wanted to show that this hasn't evolved a lot from what you see on their homepage now. Next slide. The #1 AI operating system for revenue teams. I think people just have a really hard time wrapping their head around what an AI platform is. If you go to the next slide, please. Or even an operating system. Yeah, you know what the word OS is, but this is another B2B buzzword that does not mean anything, folks. And #1 as well. And fastest email, right? This is the old Superhuman landing page before their merger. #1, fastest, best, first. These are all superlative words that also are a way to avoid saying anything of actual meaning or value. It sounds good, it sounds confident, but it's like, what's the actual benefit of it being fastest? And so, I think that this is a shortcut people rely on a little bit too much. If you scroll more on the Superhuman page, then they get into kind of what was their sub headline there. Sorry, go back one. Saving 4 hours per person every single week. That's a little bit clearer than the fastest email platform ever made, right? I'm actually seeing what I'm doing here. And AI powered email, does that really need to be there? Is it, maybe if you can show me exactly how this is saving me those hours, I'd be interested, but otherwise it's just noise.
Quick time check,
So
Kira.
go ahead. Yes. How are we doing? A few more minutes?
Yes, please.
Okay. We're just close to the end here, so we'll fly through these examples. And again, check out my newsletter if you want to see examples. This is the type of thing I write about all the time, and I try to include examples from what we're seeing in the landscape, because that's what our customers are saying. They're seeing this noise just as much as we are. So the next couple of slides we'll go through in quick succession, just because I want to show you AI workspace. Go ahead. AI workspace. Go ahead. AI orchestration platform, whatever that means, right? Everyone is using the same language of platform. And so I'm going into some other examples where it's like, how do we show some actual value instead of just platform, saying what the platform is without explaining that. So this is a newer page on the Zapier website. Just results, no AI hub here, and still a little bit of hype, but they're showing that the tasks being automated and counting. Let's look at HubSpot for a moment. So going ahead, this is their old landing page. Grow better with HubSpot. A lot going on this page. AI powered customer platform. Again, an AI powered platform that means nothing to me. But now their new homepage, I really like the evolution that they've made. Go ahead, one slide. Where go-to-market teams go to scale, and the word scale here flips through a couple of different things. We've all seen the flipper. But this clearly went from, like, HubSpot could say marketing platform, again, means nothing, but saying who this is for, go-to-market teams, what they come to do here, scale. So that's an example of focusing more on the utility than the technology. Let's look at Zendesk and Intercom for a moment. So Zendesk, AI first service. Then it became Zendesk AI agents. Again, I mentioned agents are now showing up everywhere. I think that leading with delivering beautifully simple service is clear. I think the AI agents piece is going to get baked into their product more and more. And so we won't see that as part of the headline in the near term. Intercom is an example of one that took a big bet with the branding. They had this big, beautifully illustrated background. But the worry with being so standout here is that it goes the way of, like, Tomorrowland at Disneyland, where it's like vintage in 5 minutes. So yeah, and then I think we lost the slides again, but we're almost through, I promise. Should we take one beat here? Alrighty. Well, it's just me. So I would love to hear if anyone has questions. You can start putting those in the chat. And oh, there's our slides. There's a couple left here that we can go through quickly. These are examples that we're starting to get into where I think they've started to move in the right direction. So user testing, for example, crafting experiences that win hearts and markets. That's what you want to do, right? And then later on in the page, they talk about how being AI driven is delivering on that promise. But right, the functionality of AI is to deliver on this more ultimate value prop, crafting experiences that win hearts and minds and markets and things. Go on to the next slide. Falabi, not sure. Yeah, with us. This is talking about AI. Going on to Pinterest. Right? Pinterest has a lot of AI functionality baked in, and they don't need to talk about it because that's not why people are coming to Pinterest. Going on to Squarespace. Same thing here. Squarespace waits to talk about the AI functionality. It's not like use AI to build your whole website. That's not the headline. They are sticking with their same brand headline of a website makes it real. Waiting for the slides to catch up here. A website makes it real. And then only when you scroll later down the page, you see getting started has never been easier with AI, no experience required. Okay, so I get that they still want to talk about that, but it's not the headline that everyone cares about most. Yeah, MailChimp was up there. MailChimp, again, doesn't need to be focusing on AI-powered email marketing. It's focusing on turning email and SMS into revenue. That's still the #1 value prop that this audience cares about. And so AI functionality can be talked about later down in the journey. Last example I had here was Slack. Slack used to be super like the AI-powered communication platform. And now they've come back to your team's collective brain. Moving faster, working smarter, people, apps, and AI at your side. This is kind of throwback to the Notion example with a little help from AI. So hopefully this is all giving you lots of ideas for how you can be marketing your AI features and functionality. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe to my Substack, which is my name, KiraKlaas.substack.com. I'll drop that in the link again, or in the chat again. And connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you. Include a note there so I know who you are and you don't get lost in the inbox. And I also teach a couple of courses, Reforge and also Maven, which is not on here. I'll drop a link. Maybe the team can follow up with a special discount for listeners today. But I go much deeper into this and everything else I've learned as a brand marketer over the years. And would love to hear from you all. So thank you so much and wishing you a happy rest of the conference.
Amazing. Kira, thank you so much. I didn't want to stop the session because the examples were so fantastic. We do unfortunately need to get started because our next speaker has been waiting backstage for a while. But if there are any questions that you folks have for Kira, you all already have our email address. You know how to get in touch with us. Just drop these in over email and we'll send them over to Kira, or you can reach out to her directly on LinkedIn, like she said. All of her courses, as well as all of her resources that she's shared, which include some amazing articles from her newsletter, are also in the resources tab. Kira, thank you so much. This was an absolutely phenomenal session. Thank you so much for being with us today. And folks, we've got our next session with Matt Maynard coming up, who's going to be talking about how to make a case for brand. So stay tuned for that. We'll be getting started with that very, very shortly. Thanks, Kira. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.